Hello everybody. It's Tuesday the 27th of October. I thought, in the spirit of the season, only being a few days until Halloween, I thought I might talk about horror. Now, I've liked horror for a very long time. My parents have been very liberal with, the movies that I was allowed to watch as a child. I used to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th movies. Stuff that most parents wouldn't ever let their kids anywhere near. I don't recall ever being truly scared by any of them. I suppose because, I was watching them during my formative years, I sort of, got used to them very quickly, and I can sit and watch a horror movie and I'm not even remotely scared. The only time I can ever actually recall being properly afraid of something was Pet Sematary. There's a character in the movie, her name's Zelda. And of course, Pet Sematary is based off a Stephen King book, and Zelda is the main character's wife's dead older sister. Now, she had spinal meningitis when she was alive, and she was considered the family's dirty secret. They had a large house, and she was in, the tiny little back bedroom away from everything. Never had any guests, and was bedridden for her whole life. And she wasn't a very nice person, and the way that they presented the character in the movie was just discomforting. I think that's the only movie that's ever genuinely scared me, and it wasn't even the movie itself, it was just her. I'm sure some people out there who watch my stuff have seen the movie, so they know what it's about, and they might understand. If anybody's wondering, today I'm smoking Billiger gross format exports, which are pressed cigars, so they're not round like normal, they're sort of square. They're about as premium as you can get before you actually start getting into proper premium cigars. Anyway, I used to lie awake at night, petrified of the thought of her, and I'd have nightmares about her. That was the only time a movie's ever done that to me. Games scare me all the time. I mean, sure, you've got jump scares and stuff, which is just an initial bit of shock, but it's not really fear. But some games, like Silent Hill was another thing that made me genuinely uncomfortable. Like when I got the original game on the PlayStation 1, we used to, I used to, because I was the only one who played it, I had to limit myself to the amount I could play in a day, because if I played too much, it would take me ages to get to sleep. And, to this day, have I completed a Silent Hill game? I don't think so. Oh no, tell a lie. Tell a lie. Was it? Did I complete Silent Hill Homecoming? You know, I honestly can't remember. I may have finished Homecoming, but I can't remember. I've talked about in the Amnesia: The Dark Descent before. That's one of the more recent games that's properly scared me. The grunts, man. I don't know what it is, but the corrupted human form is something that definitely makes me very uncomfortable, and is quite scary. It's like you recognise, the kinship between them, yet they're so different, and yeah, Amnesia was one of those games that I just, I would get so uncomfortable that I'd have to stop playing it after a while. Which is good. I like to be, thrilled and scared and uncomfortable when I play a game. I like it to evoke strong feelings and emotions in me. So it's definitely one of my favourite games of the last few years. Another good one that's similar is Outlast, which is the basic story of that is you play an investigative journalist. You're emailed by somebody who did some contract work for the Murkoff Corporation, who runs Mount Massive Mental Institute. They run it under the guise of charity work, but in actual fact they're exploiting the mentally ill people there for profit. And this person who was contracted in to do some IT work saw what was going on and decided that we wanted to blow the whistle on them. So you go in there and you find places completely devoid of staff. The only people that are around are the inmates, and of course they're all out of their cells and completely batshit crazy, most of them. And you're being stalked by this giant. And there's also this guy who had delusions of what's the proper term for it? I can't remember the word. Religious delusions, I'll say, because I can't remember what the term is. But yeah, religious delusions. He considered himself a priest, and he had to spread the word of the Wall Rider, which is this thing that Merkel Corporation were investigating. You get attacked by the big goon, and the priest finds you, and he sees that you've got a camera and you've been recording stuff, and he thinks that God sent him an apostle, and he tells you to go and gather proof of what's going on for him, and so on and so forth. And then when you try to escape, he comes up behind you and injects you with general anaesthetic and or whatever it is to knock you out, and then you awake and find yourself in a padded room, which one of the inmates kindly unlocks for you. I like things set in asylums. I find them very interesting. It's a pity that there's not more games set in asylums. And then there's the Whistleblower DLC, where you play the person who emailed the game's main character, and when they find out that you sent an email, because the guy stupidly sent an email from Murkoff's own email system, you get forcibly committed to the asylum, and you have to find a way to escape. Yeah, definitely very interesting. Hang on a second. I'm trying to work out where this ash dropped. Excuse me. Want to make sure it didn't end up in the car. No. Yeah. Not to worry. Anyway. Yeah, I've talked about the early films that I watched. You know, Nightmare on Elm Street was probably one of the first. You know, there was also Halloween. I never really got into Friday the 13th, not like I did Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street. They were good movies. But also one of the ones I saw when I was very young was Nosferatu, which is considered by many to be the first true horror movie. It was based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, you know, to the point where Bram Stoker's widow actually sued the production company because they didn't, you know, get permission or pay the Bram Stoker estate any royalties for what they considered plagiarism. Thankfully, you know, the court ordered that all copies of the film be destroyed. Thankfully, one of them had already found its way to America, where some fans decided that they were going to protect it, so it was put in storage, where the lawyers wouldn't be able to get hold of it. And eventually, it was brought out, and I think it was probably during the 70s or the 80s or something, because I've seen some VHS releases and stuff from the 80s. Yeah, I remember I watched it when I was a child, and that sort of probably formed the idea in my young mind of what horror should be like. You know, it was by no means scary by modern standards. But it's definitely a very well done film. You know, what amounted to special effects that they had available in the 1930s or 1920s? I think it was the 1930s. But yeah, what amounted to special effects were pretty good. I eventually bought it on DVD, and yeah, you know, there was a special edition with lots of additional features and a restored, remastered version of the movie. But yeah, that's a good film, and I watch it every now and again. Smoke likes to cling to me. Anyway, it's why I like, you know, creepypastas and the SCP wiki, and so on, because, you know, it's like, you know, fresh and new ideas and whatnot. There's lots of very interesting things to be found on creepypasta sites and whatnot. You know, of course, those of you who watch the creepypasta videos that I make, you know, it's something that I'm interested in, to the point that I make videos of it on my channel. I probably should write some more. Sorry about that. Just the smoke was in with all my eyes are making him sting. I'm getting over a really bad cold. I think it's nowhere near as bad as it was. It's just right now I've still got a bit of a chesty cough, and my nose is a lot more blocked than it normally is. And I foolishly didn't bring any tissues with me. No. I really would like more horror games to play. In September, the people who made Amnesia released a new game called Soma, which I believe is Greek for, I think it was like Greek for artificial or something like that. It's very similar to Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and A Machine for Pigs. Your character was in a car crash and had some brain damage, and he gets contacted after he's had all of his scans and everything. He gets contacted by someone who's doing their thesis at medical school. He wants to pioneer a new way of dealing with healing brain damage. So what he plans to do is he'll scan. He intends to scan people's brains, find out what the damage is, where it is, and then they come up with ways of promoting healing as much as possible, which is in ways specific diets, medications, exercise regimens, and various stimuli, I would imagine. So you go in, you get your scan, and once the scan's finished, you wake up and you're not in the scanning room anymore. You're in some sort of facility, and it's quite clearly the future because it has technology that we don't have today. And as you work your way through the facility, you quickly find out that there are things around there that are trying to hunt and kill you, and if you team up with this. Well, she's not really an AI. She was the leader of a project to take what was left of humanity, because the game is set a few months after a cataclysmic comet impact that wiped out all life on Earth, or most of it anyway. The only reason why some of the people in that facility survived was because the facility is at the bottom of the ocean, and it was a space gun facility. Instead of launching satellites into space with rockets, they used a rail gun that was affixed to the sea floor, and emerged at the barrel emerged at the surface. And what she was planning to do is scan the minds of everybody in the facility, create this device which she called the Ark, which would be a computer that housed their intelligences, constructed an artificial environment for them to live in virtually, and then it would be fired up into space on a satellite and spend several thousand years, just orbiting the Earth. And effectively, they could live for thousands and thousands of years until eventually perhaps aliens found the Earth and they could contact them. As it turns out, when the guy scanned your brain, your character didn't respond to the treatment and died a few months later but he kept your brain scanned, and eventually that was used as a basis of the new sort of artificial intelligence matrix that could be used to control robots and so on and so forth. And the reason why you woke up in the chair in the facility in the future is because there was something that the woman there in the air calls the coin toss. When you copy your mind from either yourself to a device or from one device to another, there's a coin toss. It means that you either carry on in your original body, or in his case the robot he was in, or your consciousness gets carried over and you effectively jump to the next body, and yeah, and you won the coin toss, and you found yourself, instead of being in 2015, in 2104 or whatever it was. You got to work your way through the facility, get to the Ark, get the Ark to the railgun, transfer your consciousness to it, along with the woman Catherine who's helping you, and hopefully get on board the Ark. Again, it's a very interesting game, and it's definitely, the ending of it definitely makes me pensive and think a lot. It's very well written, and the game's very well executed. It's definitely got the Amnesia formula. It's not as scary as the original game, but it's definitely scarier than A Machine for Pigs. The pigs and the man pigs in The Machine for Pigs were no more than an annoyance I had to evade, whereas the grunts in The Dark Descent were things that I were genuinely scared of and wanted to escape from. And in Soma, it's the things that are hunting you. They're not as bad, anywhere near as bad as the grunts, but you still get the shock factor with them. Whereas with the pigs are just annoying. Anyway, that's a good game. I would recommend that people play, Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, and Soma. But, make sure that you play The Dark Descent first, then Machine for Pigs, then Soma, so that you can appreciate the formula. And then the first games that Frictional Games made with the Penumbra games, that they're similar to the rest of them, but you have weapons to use and so on and so forth. They went away from using weapons in Amnesia, and they haven't brought weapons back into the games since then. So yeah, it's definitely they make some very good games. Just unfortunate with the second one that they teamed up with the Chinese room of Dear Esther fame, and it turned into an art story game rather than a proper, horror gameplay game. Anyway. That's probably end it here. Thank you for watching, and be seeing you